Lila Harper was humming softly to the baby in her arms when everything changed. She was 26, with smooth brown skin that glowed under warm lights, curly black hair tied back in a loose bun, and kind hazel eyes that always made kids feel safe. She wore simple grey leggings and an oversized cream sweater, the kind that was perfect for rocking a toddler to sleep. Little Ethan, just 8 months old, had finally dozed off against her shoulder. His tiny fingers clutched her sweater as she paced the nursery in the big Toronto house. Lila had been nannying for the Caldwell family for 3 months. They were rich, always traveling, and paid well. She liked the job. The house was quiet most days, and Ethan was a sweet baby who smiled every time she sang to him. That afternoon, she needed more formula. Ethan's bottle was almost empty, so she carried him downstairs to the kitchen. As she passed the open garage door, she glanced inside without thinking. 2 men in dark jackets were unloading heavy black bags from a van. One of them looked up and stared right at her. His eyes were hard, like he was angry she was even there. Lila's stomach tightened. She hurried past, head down, and went straight to the kitchen. She warmed the bottle, fed Ethan, and took him back upstairs. She thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. An hour later, the front door crashed open. Heavy footsteps pounded through the house. Lila froze in the nursery doorway. 3 men in black burst in. The leader was tall and wide, with a shaved head and a gold chain. He pointed a gun straight at her. "Put the baby down," he barked. "Slow." Lila's heart slammed in her chest. She gently laid Ethan in his crib. He started crying right away. "Please," she whispered. "Don't hurt him. Take anything you want." The man didn't answer. He grabbed her arm hard and pulled her toward the door. Another man scooped up Ethan and handed him to the housekeeper, Maria, who stood shaking in the hallway. "What's going on?" Maria asked, voice breaking. "Stay out of it," the man snapped. They dragged Lila outside. A black van waited in the driveway. They pushed her in the back, zipped a hood over her head, and tied her hands with zip ties. The door slammed. The van sped away. Lila sat on the cold metal floor, shaking. Who were these people? Why her? She was nobody special. She grew up in Jamaica with her mom and grandma, moved to Canada for better work, and spent her days changing diapers and making bottles. She didn't have enemies. She didn't even have a boyfriend right now. The drive felt endless. When the van finally stopped, they pulled her out and marched her down concrete steps. The hood came off. She was in a dim basement room. Grey walls. 1 metal table. 2 chairs. A single light bulb overhead. Across the table sat Victor Romanov. Everyone in the city whispered his name. He was 32, tall and built strong, with pale skin, sharp cheekbones, short black hair, and eyes so blue they looked like ice. He wore a black suit that fit perfect, white shirt unbuttoned at the top, showing a thin scar on his neck. His face was handsome, but cold. Like he never smiled. He leaned back in his chair, watching her like she was nothing. "So," he said, voice low and calm. "You're the nanny who sticks her nose where it doesn't belong." Lila shook her head fast. "I didn't. I swear. I was just getting formula for the baby. I walked past the garage. That's all." Victor's lips curled a little, like he was amused. "You looked right at my men. You saw the delivery." "I didn't see anything," she said. "I just saw 2 guys unloading bags. I didn't stop. I didn't look inside." He stood up slowly and walked around the table. Up close, he towered over her. He smelled like expensive cologne and something darker. "In my business," he said, "even looking is a problem. People get curious. They talk to cops. They cause trouble." "I'm not trouble," Lila said. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I don't talk to anybody. I go to work, I go home. That's it." He laughed softly. Not a nice laugh. "You think I believe that? Pretty girl like you, all alone in a big house with rich people. Maybe you thought you could make some extra money. Take a picture. Send it to someone." "No," she said, voice cracking. "I don't even know what was in those bags." Victor stepped closer. He reached out and grabbed her chin, forcing her to look up at him. "Don't lie to me," he said quietly. "Lying makes it worse." His fingers were cold. Lila's whole body shook. "I'm not lying," she whispered. He stared into her eyes for a long moment. Then he let go and stepped back. "Search her," he told one of the guards. The guard patted her down roughly, checking pockets, shoes, even her hair. He took her phone and left the room. Victor sat again, folding his arms. "You'll stay here until we check everything," he said. "Your phone. Your apartment. Your friends. If you're clean, maybe you go home. If not," he shrugged. "You don't." Lila swallowed hard. "How long?" "As long as I want." He stood and walked to the door. "Please," she said. "The baby needs me. His parents are away. Maria can't handle him alone." Victor paused, hand on the door. "Cute," he said. "But babies survive without nannies." He left. The door locked with a heavy click. Lila sat there alone for hours. A guard brought water. She didn't drink. Her mind raced. Would they hurt her mom back in Jamaica if they thought she knew something? Would Ethan be okay? Late that night, the door opened again. Victor walked in alone. No guards this time. He carried a small tray with tea and a sandwich. "Your phone's clean," he said, setting it down. "No photos. No weird calls." Hope flared in her chest. "So I can go." He didn't answer. He sat across from her. "Take off your sweater," he said. Lila's stomach dropped. "Why?" "Checking for wires. Or tattoos. Things you might hide." She hesitated, then slowly pulled off her sweater. Underneath was a simple white tank top. The room was cold. Her arms prickled. "Turn around," he said. She turned. That's when he saw the scar. A long, thick line down the middle of her back. Old and faded, but deep. It started high between her shoulders and went down past where the tank top ended. Victor went very still. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice different now. "Rougher." Lila pulled her sweater back on and turned around. "From when I was little," she said quietly. "How little?" 7. He leaned forward. His blue eyes looked stormy. "Tell me how it happened." She never talked about this. But something in his voice made her answer. "My dad worked construction in Romania for a few months. We stayed in a village near Brasov. One night, a warehouse caught fire. I was playing nearby and got too close. A beam fell. It hit me. Someone pulled me out." Victor's face changed. The cold mask cracked. "What year?" he whispered. 2009. His hands gripped the table edge. "And the warehouse, did it belong to the Romanov family?" Lila blinked. How could he know that? She stared at him. "Yeah," she said slowly. "It did." Victor's eyes widened. The feared mafia boss, the man who never showed weakness, looked like he'd just seen a ghost. If that ending gave you chills, hit that like button right now and let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. Subscribe and turn on the bell because you're not ready for what comes next. Victor Romanov barely slept that night. He sat in his office upstairs, staring at the security feed from the basement room. Lila Harper was curled up on the thin mattress they'd given her, eyes closed, breathing steady. She looked small, harmless. But something about her words kept echoing in his head. A warehouse fire. Near Brasov. 2009. Romanov family. It had to be a coincidence. Lots of warehouses burned down. Lots of kids got hurt. But the way she said it, so calm, like it was just an old story, made his skin crawl. He rubbed the scar on his neck without thinking. That night 16 years ago changed everything. His father had ordered him to burn the place to hide a bad deal gone wrong. Bodies inside. Evidence. Victor was only 15, scared, but he obeyed. He thought the fire took care of it all. No one ever mentioned a little girl surviving. By morning, Victor looked tired. His blue eyes had dark circles under them. He drank black coffee, put on a fresh grey suit, and went back down to the basement. Lila was already awake when he walked in. She sat on the edge of the mattress, hands in her lap, back straight. Her curly hair was a little messy now, but her hazel eyes were clear. No crying. No begging. Just waiting. Most people in that room would be shaking or screaming by now. Not her. "Good morning," she said quietly. Like they were at a coffee shop, not a prison. Victor paused at the door. He wasn't used to that. He pulled the chair over and sat close. "Sleep okay?" he asked. "Better than I thought," she said. "The mattress isn't too bad." He almost smiled. "Almost. Let's try again," he said. "Tell me why you were really near that garage." Lila looked right at him. "I told you. I needed formula for Ethan. That's it. You expect me to believe a nanny just happens to walk past my delivery?" "I didn't know it was your delivery," she said. "I didn't know anything. I still don't." Victor leaned forward. "Everyone knows something. Even if they don't think they do. A face. A license plate. A word they overheard." She shook her head slowly. "I keep my head down. Always have. Kids don't care about grown-up drama. Neither do I." He watched her face for any flicker. A twitch. A glance away. Nothing. "You're very calm," he said. "Panicking doesn't help," she replied. "My grandma taught me that back in Jamaica. Worry wastes time." Victor felt a strange pull in his chest. Most people lied badly under pressure. They talked too much. Or too little. She answered straight, short, and steady. He tried a different angle. "Your apartment. We checked it last night. 1 bedroom. Neat. Photos of kids you've nannied. Letters from their parents thanking you. No boyfriend pictures. No party photos. You live like a nun." Lila shrugged. "I like my job. Kids come and go. Families move. I move with them sometimes. It's simple. Simple people don't end up in my basement." "I didn't ask to," she said softly. Silence stretched between them. Victor stood and paced the small room. "You know what happens to liabilities in my world?" he asked. "I can guess," she said. "And you're not scared." "I'm scared," she admitted. "But scared doesn't change facts. I didn't see anything. I'm not a threat." He stopped pacing and stared at her. "Tell me about Romania," he said suddenly. Lila's eyes softened a little. "Not much to tell. My dad chased construction jobs. We stayed a few months. I was 7. I played outside a lot. Then the fire happened. After that, we left." "You remember the fire?" "Pieces," she said. "Smoke. Heat. Pain in my back. Waking up in a hospital. My mom crying. That's it." "Nightmares?" he asked. She paused. "Used to have them. A lot. Running through smoke. Hearing screams. But they stopped years ago." Victor's throat felt tight. He had nightmares about that night too. Still did. Flames. The smell of burning wood. A small hand reaching out. He pushed the thought away. "You don't remember who pulled you out?" he asked. "No face," she said. "Just arms. Strong ones. Then nothing." He turned away from her so she wouldn't see his face. "You're staying longer," he said. "Just in case." Lila nodded like she expected that. "Okay," she said. "But Ethan needs his routine. Maria's sweet, but she doesn't know his little signals yet." Victor almost laughed. Here she was, locked in a mafia basement, worrying about a baby's schedule. He walked to the door. "One more thing," he said. "Roll up your sleeves." She did without asking why. No track marks. No tattoos. Clean brown skin with a few small childhood scars. "Now stand and turn around. Lift your shirt a little." Lila hesitated this time, but she stood. She turned and lifted the back of her sweater and tank top just enough. That's when he saw it clearly for the first time. The scar. Long and jagged, running straight down her spine. Thick in the middle where the beam had hit hardest. Pale against her warm brown skin. Victor's breath stopped. He knew that scar. He'd seen it fresh and bleeding in his nightmares. Carried that little girl out while her blood soaked his shirt. but he forced his face to stay cold. "Old burn?" he asked, voice flat. "Yeah," she said, pulling her clothes down. "From the fire?" He nodded like it was nothing. "Sit," he said. "She Saturday." He left the room fast, closing the door hard behind him. Upstairs, he poured himself a drink even though it was morning. His hand shook a little. It couldn't be her. It was impossible. A 7-year-old girl pulled from his father's burning warehouse. The only loose end he thought the fire had tied up forever. No. Just a coincidence. Scars happen. Fires happen. He'd keep her a few more days. Make sure. But deep down, something had already started to crack inside the Ruthless Mafia boss. And he hated it. If your heart's already racing for Lila, smash that like button and comment below. What would you do if you were in her place? Stay calm or lose it. Drop your city too. I read every single one. Subscribe and hit the bell because Chapter 3 is about to turn this whole story upside down. You're not gonna believe what Victor does next. Lila Harper had been in the basement for 3 full days now. She kept track by the meals. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Always the same guard bringing a tray, simple food, like eggs, sandwiches, soup. Nothing fancy, but enough to keep her going. The mattress was thin, the room cold at night, but she stayed calm. She sang quiet songs to herself, the ones she used for the babies. It helped. Victor came down every day. Same questions, different ways. Who have you talked to about the garage? Nobody. Do you recognize any of my men? No. What exactly did you see? Nothing. He never raised his voice. Never touched her. Just stared with those ice blue eyes, like he could read her mind if he looked hard enough. But Lila stayed steady. She answered the same every time. Short. Honest. By the 3rd morning, she felt dizzy when she stood up. Her head throbbed. She touched her forehead, hot. The room spun a little. She sat back down fast. When the guard brought breakfast, she could barely eat the toast. "I don't feel good," she told him. He looked at her face, saw the sweat on her brown skin even though the room was cool. "I'll tell the boss," he said, and left. An hour later, Victor walked in. He wore a dark navy sweater today, sleeves pushed up, looking more relaxed than usual. His short black hair was neat, pale skin clean-shaven. The guard was right behind him. "She's sick?" Victor asked. The guard nodded. "Says she's dizzy. Hot." Victor stepped closer and looked at her. Lila tried to sit straight, but her arms felt weak. "I think it's a fever," she said quietly. "Maybe flu. I get it sometimes when I'm stressed." Victor frowned. He reached out and touched her forehead with the back of his hand. She was burning up. "Damn it," he muttered. He turned to the guard. "Get the doctor. Now." The guard left fast. Victor looked around the room. No bathroom. Just a small sink in the corner. "You need to cool down," he said. "Your sweater, take it off. You're sweating too much." Lila hesitated. She was wearing the same cream sweater from the day they took her. Under it, just the white tank top. "I'm okay," she said. "You're not," he snapped. "You'll pass out. Take it off." His voice was sharp, but she could tell he was worried underneath. She nodded slowly and pulled the sweater over her head. Her curly hair fell loose around her face. Victor grabbed a clean towel from the tray, ran it under cold water at the sink, and handed it to her. "Put this on your neck." She did. The cold felt good. But then the dizziness hit harder. The room tilted. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Victor caught her before she hit the floor. His arms were strong around her waist. She leaned against his chest without meaning to. "I got you," he said low. He helped her back to the mattress and laid her down gently. Her tank top had ridden up a little in the fall. The bottom of the scar showed, just the end of it, low on her back. Victor's eyes dropped to it. "Lift your shirt," he said suddenly. "I need to see how bad the fever rash is." "There's no rash," she murmured. "Just hot." "Do it," he said, voice tight. Lila was too weak to argue. She reached back and pulled the tank top up all the way to her shoulders. The scar was fully out in the open now. Long, thick, jagged, running the full length of her spine, from between her shoulder blades down to the small of her back. The skin around it was smooth brown, but the scar itself was raised and pale, like a lightning bolt frozen in time. Victor went completely still. He stared at it like he couldn't breathe. His face changed. The cold mask shattered. His blue eyes went wide. His jaw tightened. Hands clenched into fists at his sides. "No," he whispered. So quiet she almost missed it. Then the rage came. He stood up fast, knocking the chair over. "Get up," he shouted. Lila flinched, pulling her shirt down quick. Victor's chest rose and fell hard. He paced the room like a caged animal. "You think this is funny?" he yelled. "You think you can come here with that and play games?" "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, voice small. She sat up slowly, scared now. He stopped and stared at her again. His eyes were wild. "That scar," he said, pointing. "Where did you really get it?" "I told you," she said. "The fire. In Romania." "Stop lying," he roared. The door burst open. 2 guards rushed in. "Boss?" one asked. Victor spun toward them. "Out," he shouted. "Both of you. Now." They hesitated. "I said out." The guards backed away and pulled the door shut. Victor grabbed the key from his pocket and locked it from the inside. Click. He turned back to Lila. She sat on the mattress, hugging her knees, hazel eyes wide. He stood over her, breathing hard, looking like he was fighting something inside. The ruthless mafia boss who never lost control was coming apart. And it was all because of one old scar on a nanny's back. The door was locked. Just the 2 of them in the cold basement room. Victor stood over Lila, breathing hard, his pale face flushed with something that looked like anger but felt a lot more like fear. His ice blue eyes kept flicking to her back even though her tank top was down now. Lila sat on the mattress, arms wrapped around herself. Her fever still burned, but the shock of his shouting had woken her up fully. She looked up at him, hazel eyes steady even though her heart raced. "Tell me about the scar," he said. His voice was low now, almost shaking. "All of it. Right now." Lila swallowed. She hated talking about this. It always made people look at her different, like she was broken. "It's not a big story," she said quietly. "I was 7. My dad was working construction near Brasov, Romania. We lived in a little village for a few months. One night I sneaked out to play near this big warehouse. Kids did that sometimes. There were crates to climb, places to hide." Victor's hands clenched tighter. "Go on," he said. "There was a fire," she continued. "Started fast. Smoke everywhere. I ran inside looking for a way out, but I got lost. Something fell, a beam, I think. Heavy wood. It hit me across the back. Knocked me down. I remember the pain, then trying to crawl. Everything went black after that." She shrugged like it was nothing, even though her voice got softer. "I woke up in the hospital weeks later. Doctors said someone carried me out. My mom flew over from Jamaica. We left Romania right after I got better. That's it." Victor stared at her. His face had gone even paler. "That's it," he repeated. "A warehouse burns down, a beam falls on a little girl, someone carries her out, and that's it." Lila nodded. "Yeah. Bad luck. Wrong place, wrong time. I got the scar. It healed ugly, but I lived. End of story." She said it so simply. So ordinary. Like it happened to plenty of kids. But to Victor, it was the opposite of ordinary. It was the one night he had spent 16 years trying to bury. His mind flashed back, sudden, sharp pieces. 15 years old. Skinny, scared, but determined. His father's voice in his ear. "Burn it all, Victor. Every crate. Every body. No evidence left." Pouring gasoline in the dark. The whoosh of flames catching. Running out as the roof groaned. Then, something he always told himself was a dream, a small cry inside. A child's voice. He turned back. Saw a little shape through the smoke. Tiny hands reaching. He ran in without thinking. Grabbed her. Felt the beam crash down across her back as he lifted her. Her blood hot on his arms. Carrying her out into the cold night air. Laying her on the grass far from the fire. Sirens coming. He ran before anyone saw him. He told himself she didn't make it. The fire was too big. No one could survive that. But the memories were fragmented. Unreliable. He'd been shaking, coughing smoke, half out of his mind with panic. For years he convinced himself the little girl was just his guilt talking. Until now. Lila was watching him. "You okay?" she asked softly. "You look like you're gonna be sick." Victor blinked hard, coming back to the room. He stepped closer and sat on the edge of the mattress, close enough that she could see the sweat on his forehead. "Show me again," he said. Lila hesitated, then turned sideways and lifted her tank top just enough. He didn't touch her, but his eyes traced every inch of the scar. And that's when it hit him fully. The exact shape. It started thick between her shoulder blades, where the heaviest part of the beam landed. Then it narrowed down the center of her spine, branching out in two jagged lines low on her back, like the wood had split when it hit. He knew that pattern. Because he'd seen it fresh. Bleeding. In the firelight. He'd felt the weight of that beam as it glanced off him too before crushing her. His breath came short. "No," he whispered. Lila lowered her shirt and turned to face him. "What's wrong?" she asked. "You've seen scars before, right?" Victor couldn't answer. He stood up fast, backing away until he hit the wall. This wasn't a coincidence. This was the little girl. The one he saved. The only witness to the night that made him a killer. The one person who could unravel everything. And she was sitting right here, looking at him with kind, confused eyes, having no idea who he really was. Victor's back was against the locked door. He couldn't move. Lila sat on the mattress watching him. Her fever had dropped a little from the cold towel, but her hazel eyes were sharp now. She could tell something big had broken inside him. "You know something about that night," she said quietly. Not a question. Victor ran a hand through his short black hair. His pale skin looked almost grey under the light. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Then finally spoke. "I was there." Lila blinked. "In the village?" "In the warehouse." She went very still. Victor slid down the wall until he was sitting on the cold floor. His expensive navy sweater looked out of place down there. He stared at his hands like he could still see the smoke on them. "I was 15, he started, voice low. "My father ran things back then. Guns. Money. Whatever made profit. One deal went bad. Rivals raided the warehouse. Shot 3 of our men. Left bodies and evidence that could send the whole family away for life." He paused. Took a shaky breath. "My father told me to clean it up. Said it was time I proved myself. So that night I went alone. Poured gasoline over everything. Crates, papers, the bodies. Lit the match." Lila's hand went to her mouth. "The fire spread faster than I thought," he went on. "Roof started coming down quick. I ran out. Thought it was done. Thought the flames took care of every secret." He looked up at her. "But then I heard crying. Small. Scared. Coming from inside." Lila's eyes filled with tears. She already knew where this was going. "I turned back," Victor said. "Smoke was thick. Couldn't see much. But I found her, a little girl with curly hair, hiding under a table. She was coughing, trying to crawl toward the door." He swallowed hard. "I picked her up. That's when the beam fell. Big piece of burning wood from the roof. It hit her across the back. She screamed. Blood everywhere. I felt it soak through my shirt. I carried her out anyway. Ran as far as I could, laid her on the grass away from the fire." His voice cracked. "Sirens were coming. I panicked. I was 15. Covered in blood and gasoline. If the cops found me, it was over. So I ran. Left her there." Lila's tears spilled over now. Quiet ones down her brown cheeks. "I told myself she didn't make it," Victor said. "The fire was huge. The injury was bad. No way a kid that small survived. My father said the same. We never checked hospitals. Never looked for a body. We just moved on. He laughed, but it was bitter. Right after that night, my father got sick. Died a year later. I took over. Built everything you hear about now. The clubs in Toronto. The routes across the border. The name people fear. All of it started the day after that fire. Like the flames burned away the scared boy and left the man I am. He looked at her again. I built an empire on that night. On believing every loose end was gone. Lila wiped her face with the back of her hand. You saved me, she whispered. You went back in. You carried me out. Victor shook his head hard. I caused it. The fire was mine. The beam fell because of me. I left you bleeding on the ground. You were a kid too, she said softly. Scared. Doing what your father told you. He didn't answer. Silence filled the room. Then Lila asked the question that changed everything. Did you ever make sure I was dead? Victor's eyes met hers. No, he admitted. We never found a body. Never saw a name in the news. My father said kids don't matter. No one would connect it back to us. We assumed the worst. He stared at her like he still couldn't believe it. But here you are. Alive. With the scar I see in my nightmares every single night. Lila pulled her knees to her chest. I lived, she said. And I never knew who pulled me out. Until now. Victor stood slowly. He looked broken in a way no one had ever seen the feared mafia boss before. The child from that night, the one he thought the fire had claimed, was never confirmed dead. She had grown up. Walked straight into his world 16 years later. And now she knew the truth. If your jaw just dropped, hit that like button right now and comment. Do you think Lila should forgive him or run? Tell me your city too. I'm reading every single one. Subscribe and turn on the bell because Chapter 6 is about to get even heavier. You won't believe what Victor decides to do with her now. Victor didn't leave the basement for the rest of that day. He sat on the floor across from Lila, elbows on his knees, staring at her like she might disappear if he blinked. She stayed on the mattress, quiet, letting the truth settle between them. The fever had broken sometime in the afternoon. Her brown skin wasn't hot anymore, and her hazel eyes were clear again. Finally, around evening, he stood up. I need answers, he said. Real ones. About you. Lila nodded slowly. I've told you everything I know. Not enough. He unlocked the door and called for Nico, his most trusted man. Nico was 40, stocky, with olive skin, dark hair starting to grey, and kind brown eyes that didn't match his job. He always wore simple black shirts and jeans. Boss? Nico asked. Get the files on her, Victor said. Everything we pulled from her apartment. Birth certificate. Passport. Adoption papers. All of it. Bring them here. Nico glanced at Lila, then back at Victor. He didn't ask questions. He just left. 20 minutes later he came back with a thin folder. Victor spread the papers on the small table. Lila watched from the mattress. First was her Canadian passport. Photo of her smiling softly, name printed clear, Lila Marie Harper. Born in Kingston, Jamaica. Next, her birth certificate. Same name. Mother, Denise Harper. Father, listed as unknown. Then the adoption papers. Victor stopped. He read them twice. Then a third time. Lila leaned forward. What? These are wrong, he said quietly. She stood and came closer. How? He pointed to the date. This says you were adopted by Denise Harper in Jamaica when you were 8 years old. That you were born in Kingston Hospital. Lila frowned. That's what my mom always told me. She adopted me after my real parents died. I don't remember much before her. Victor flipped to the next page, the official Romanian hospital discharge summary, translated into English. It was attached to the adoption file. Patient, female child, approximately 7 years old. Severe burns to back. No identification. Brought in unconscious after warehouse fire near Brasov. No family came forward. Transferred to orphanage care after recovery. Lila's hand went to her mouth. I don't remember an orphanage. You wouldn't, Victor said. You were moved fast. He pulled out another document, an old Romanian police report from 2009. Missing child. No name. Description: black curly hair, brown skin, about 7 years old. Found injured in fire. No parents located. Then the trail went cold. Until a Jamaican adoption form, signed 8 months later. New name: Lila Marie Harper. New mother: Denise Harper, a nurse who had been visiting Romania on a church mission trip. Victor looked up at her. Your name isn't your real name, he said. You weren't born in Jamaica. You were the girl from the fire. The one no one claimed. Denise Harper adopted you, brought you to Jamaica, gave you a new life. New papers. Everything clean. Lila sank back onto the mattress. My mom, she never told me. She was protecting you, Victor said. Romania was looking for a missing kid with no family. Jamaica was safe. New start. Lila stared at the papers. Her whole life, every story her mom told her about being born in Kingston, growing up with cousins, first steps on the beach, it was all built on this lie. Not a bad lie. A kind one. But still a lie. Who was I before? She whispered. Victor shook his head. No one knows. The fire destroyed everything. No DNA match back then. You were just the girl who lived. He gathered the papers and put them back in the folder. Now you understand why I can't let you walk out, he said softly. You're the only person who can tie me to that night. Lila looked at him. I wouldn't say anything. I don't want trouble. I just want to go home. Victor's phone buzzed in his pocket. He answered. Nico's voice, urgent. Boss, we got a problem. Ivan Dragomir just reached out. Wants a meet tomorrow. Says he has information you'll pay big for. Victor's blood went cold. Ivan Dragomir ran the rival syndicate out of Montreal. Ruthless. Older than Victor. Always looking for weakness. What information? Victor asked. He wouldn't say on the phone. Just that it's about a ghost from your past. A girl who didn't die in a fire like everyone thought. Victor's grip tightened on the phone. And he said, Nico continued, he'll trade her location for half your Toronto routes. Victor looked across the room at Lila. She was staring back, confused. Somehow, Ivan knew. The rival syndicate knew the truth. And they wanted her. Victor didn't sleep again that night. After Nico's call, he sent extra guards to every door, doubled the men on the gates, and told everyone to shoot first if any car got too close. Then he went back downstairs. Lila was sitting on the mattress, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the folder of papers he'd left on the table. Her curly hair fell around her face, hiding her eyes. She looked small in the big cream sweater again. He closed the door softly behind him. No lock this time. She looked up when he came in. Her hazel eyes were red from crying, but dry now. I keep thinking about my mom, she said quietly. All those years she told me I was born in Kingston. Took me to that hospital to show me the maternity ward. Said that's where she first held me. It was all made up. Victor sat on the chair across from her. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. She gave you a good life, he said. Safe. Away from everything that happened. Lila nodded slowly. I know. I'm not mad at her. Just lost. Like the ground moved under me. He watched her for a long moment. I'm sorry, he said. The words came out rough, like they hurt his throat. Lila looked at him. For what part? All of it. He rubbed his face with both hands. That night. I've carried it for 16 years. Told myself it was necessary. Told myself everyone inside died quick. Told myself the little girl I pulled out couldn't have lived. It was the only way I could keep going. Keep building. Keep becoming the man who runs things now. He looked at her again. But you did live. And every club I opened, every deal I closed, every time someone feared my name, it was all built on top of that night. On top of what I did to you. Lila stayed quiet, just listening. I thought power would fix it, he went on. Money. Control. Men who'd kill for me. I thought if I was untouchable, the past couldn't touch me either. He laughed once, soft and broken. But here you are. One nanny who walked past a garage at the wrong time. And suddenly none of it means anything. All the power in the world can't change what I did to a 7-year-old girl who was just playing outside. His voice cracked on the last words. Lila's eyes filled again, but she didn't look away. You were 15, she said softly. Scared. Doing what your dad told you. That doesn't make it right. No, she agreed. But it makes you human. Victor shook his head. I stopped being human a long time ago. He stood and walked to the small sink, splashing cold water on his face. When he turned back, his ice-blue eyes were wet, though no tears fell. You're not just a victim, Lila, he said. You're the consequence. Every choice I made after that night led me here, to locking you in this room. To being the man who kidnaps innocent women because they might talk. I became exactly what I hated. He came back and sat closer this time, on the edge of the mattress. I can't fix what I did, he said. I can't give you back the life you should have had. But I swear, I won't let anyone else hurt you. Not Ivan. Not anyone. Lila studied his face. Why does Ivan want me? Victor hesitated. He still hadn't told her everything. Not about the bodies in the warehouse. Not about the rival family the raid belonged to. Not that Ivan Dragomi's older brother was one of the men who died in that fire. He couldn't say it yet. Because old ghosts are valuable, he said instead. Especially ones people thought were dead. Lila nodded slowly, accepting it for now. She reached out and touched his hand, just a light touch on his knuckles. You saved me that night, she said. Even if you started the fire. You went back in. You carried me out. That counts for something. Victor stared at her hand on his like he couldn't believe it was real. Upstairs, hidden behind the slightly open basement door, Nico stood frozen. He had come down to tell Victor the scouts spotted Ivan's men circling the neighborhood. But he heard the boss's voice, low, broken, confessing things Nico had never heard before. And the last words he caught clear as day. I became the monster because I thought you died, little girl. And now you're here, and I don't know how to live with that. Nico backed away quietly, heart pounding. His boss, the coldest man he knew, was falling apart. And the nanny everyone thought was disposable had just become the most dangerous secret in the city. Lila couldn't sleep either. She lay on the mattress in the dark, listening to Victor pace the basement floor for hours. Back and forth. Slow steps. Sometimes he stopped at the door like he wanted to leave, then turned around again. He hadn't said a word since his confession earlier. Around dawn, the light bulb flickered on. Victor stood there in the same navy sweater, eyes bloodshot, face unshaven for the first time since she'd met him. He looked older. Tired. Human. He carried 2 mugs of tea. Set one on the table for her. I need to tell you the rest, he said. His voice was rough, like he'd been talking to himself all night. Lila sat up slowly. She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and took the tea. It was warm in her hands. Okay, she said softly. Victor didn't sit. He stayed standing, looking down at her. That warehouse wasn't just storage, he started. It was where my father kept things he shouldn't. Guns coming in from Europe. Money going out. And that night, there were 3 men tied up inside. Rivals who'd tried to steal from us. My father ordered them gone. Quiet. Lila's stomach turned. The raid happened fast, he went on. Ivan Dragomi's older brother led it. They came for payback. Killed our guards. Shot the 3 tied-up men anyway. Left them bleeding on the floor with all the evidence, papers, ledgers, photos that would put my family away forever. He took a shaky breath. My father said burn it all. No bodies. No proof. No questions. I was the only one he trusted to do it clean. Said it was my turn to protect the family. Victor's hands shook a little as he spoke. I poured the gasoline. Lit it. Watched the flames take everything. Thought it was over. He looked straight at her. Then I heard you. Crying. Small voice under the smoke. I didn't know who you were. Just a kid. I ran back in. Found you hiding under a workbench. You reached for me. I picked you up. That's when the roof beam came down. Burning. Heavy. It hit you square across the back. I felt it crush against you. Heard you scream. His voice broke. I carried you out anyway. Your blood soaked my arms, my shirt. You went limp. I thought I'd killed you too. He stopped pacing. His shoulders sagged. I laid you on the grass far from the fire. Checked your pulse. Weak. Sirens coming. I was 15. Covered in blood and gas. If they caught me, it was over. So I ran. Left you there. Told myself you were already gone. Victor's knees buckled. Not dramatic. Not loud. He just sank slowly to the floor in front of her. Knees hitting concrete. Head bowed. Hands open in his lap like he had nothing left to hold on to. The most feared man in the city, the one who made grown men shake, was on his knees in a basement. Not begging. Just broken. Shame poured out of him. I built everything on that night, he whispered to the floor. Every deal. Every life I took after. Every time I told myself it was for family, for survival. All of it started with leaving a little girl to die. He looked up at her. His ice blue eyes were wet now. You're the only person alive who knows the full truth. The fire. The bodies. The reason Ivan wants you. Because his brother was one of the men inside. If you talk, my empire falls. Ivan wins. Everything I became, gone. Lila set her tea down. She moved to the edge of the mattress, close to him. I don't want your empire, she said quietly. I don't want revenge. I just want my life back. Victor nodded slowly. I know. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. Set it on the floor between them. Inside is a new passport. New name. Bank account with enough money to start over anywhere. Jamaica, Europe, wherever you want. Plane ticket leaving tonight. My men will drive you to the airport. No one will follow. You disappear. Live quiet. Safe. Forget all this. He pulled out his phone next. If you want the other way. I can walk upstairs right now. Call the cops myself. Tell them everything. Turn over every ledger, every name. I go down. Ivan goes down with me. You walk free. The truth comes out. Justice. His hand hovered over the phone. Your choice, Lila. He looked at her, really looked. Waiting. The nanny who had been nobody now held the life of the most powerful man in the city in her hands. Expose him, and destroy everything he built. Or disappear forever, and let the past stay buried one more time. Lila stared at the envelope. Then at the phone. Her heart pounded. What would she choose? Lila stared at the envelope on the floor for a long time. New passport. New name. Money. A plane ticket out tonight. Then at the phone in Victor's hand. One call and he'd end it all, his empire, his freedom, everything. Victor stayed on his knees, head still bowed, waiting. The proud mafia boss looked like any other man now. Tired, ashamed, ready to take whatever came. Lila slid off the mattress and knelt in front of him. Close enough to see the dark circles under his ice blue eyes, the stubble on his pale cheeks. She reached out and lifted his chin gently so he had to look at her. I see you, she said softly. Not the monster everyone talks about. Just Victor. The boy who ran into a burning building to save a kid he didn't even know. The man who's been punishing himself every day since. Victor's eyes glistened. He tried to pull away, but she held his face steady. You built all this, she went on, voice calm but strong, because you thought she died. Because you thought you failed. But she didn't die. I'm right here. Alive. Healthy. Happy, most days. I got to grow up with a mom who loved me fierce. I got to hold babies, sing to them, watch them take first steps. That's because of you. He shook his head. No. The scar. The scar is just skin, she cut in. It doesn't hurt anymore. What hurts is carrying hate. Or guilt. I don't want to carry hate for a scared 15-year-old boy. And I don't want you carrying guilt for the rest of your life. Victor's breath hitched. I can't undo the fire, she said. I can't bring back the men who died. But I can choose what happens next. And I choose to let the past stay in the past. She picked up the envelope, opened it, looked at the plane ticket. Europe sounds nice, she said with a small smile. Maybe Italy. I always wanted to see the sea there. Victor stared at her like he couldn't believe the words. You'd disappear. Just like that. Walk away from everything you know. For peace, she said. Yeah, I would. Kids need nannies everywhere. I'll find new ones to love. New songs to sing. And you, she touched his cheek lightly. You get to figure out who you want to be when you're not running from that night anymore. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, something lighter was there. Hope, maybe. For the first time in years. Thank you, he whispered. Lila stood up, still holding the envelope. So we're good, she asked. You'll let me go tonight? No tricks. He rose slowly, knees cracking. No tricks. My word. He reached for the door to call Nico, to make the arrangements. That's when the first gunshot rang out upstairs. Then another. And another. Shouts. Boots pounding. Glass breaking. Victor's face went hard again. He shoved Lila behind him and pulled a gun from his waistband. Stay down, he ordered. The basement door flew open. Nico stumbled down the stairs, blood pouring from his shoulder. His kind brown eyes were wide with pain and something worse, guilt. I'm sorry, boss, he gasped. They offered my sister safety. I didn't have a choice. More boots behind him. Ivan Dragomy's men poured into the basement, guns raised. Ivan himself stepped in last. 50 years old, thick grey hair, dark eyes, expensive coat. He smiled like he'd already won. Well, he said, looking at Victor and then at Lila. Look at the ghost. All grown up. Victor raised his gun, shielding Lila with his body. You betrayed me, he said to Nico. Nico sank to the floor, pressing his hand to the wound. They have my family. Ivan laughed. Loyalty is so fragile these days. He nodded to his men. One of them raised his weapon toward Victor. But Victor fired first. The shot hit the man in the chest. He dropped. Chaos exploded. Bullets flew. Victor pushed Lila to the floor, covering her as sparks hit the walls. She screamed his name. Another shot. Victor grunted, body jerking. Warm blood splashed onto Lila's arm. He'd been hit. He kept firing, taking down 2 more men, but there were too many. Ivan stepped forward. Gun pointed straight at Victor's head. Time to end this, Romanov. Lila looked up from the floor, eyes wide, blood, Victor's blood, pooling under them both. The basement smelled like gunpowder and blood. Lila was on the floor, ears ringing from the shots. Victor's body was heavy on top of hers, shielding her even after he'd been hit. His breathing was shallow, warm against her neck. Ivan Dragomy stood over them, gun still pointed. Move, he said to Victor. Or the next one goes in her head. Victor didn't move at first. Blood soaked through his navy sweater, spreading dark across his side. Slowly, painfully, he pushed himself up. One hand pressed to his ribs. The other still held the gun, but it shook now. Take me, he rasped. Let her go. Ivan laughed. You don't give orders anymore. 2 of his men grabbed Victor's arms. The gun fell from his fingers. Nico lay against the wall, pale, barely conscious. His betrayal had bought his sister time, but not safety. Ivan's men had shot him anyway. Lila scrambled to her knees. Don't, she said to Ivan. Please. You want the truth out? Fine. I'll talk. I'll tell everyone what happened that night. But let him live. Ivan turned to her, dark eyes curious. You'd speak against him. After he kidnapped you. He saved me once, she said, voice steady even though her hand shook. A long time ago. I owe him that much. Victor looked at her, eyes wide. No, Lila. Don't. But she kept going. I was the girl in the fire. He pulled me out. He was 15. Scared. He didn't mean for anyone to get hurt that night. Not me. Not the others. Let him go, and I'll make sure the world knows the whole story, the raid, the bodies, everything. Ivan smiled slow. Interesting, he said. But I don't need your story. I need him broken. He nodded to his men. They dragged Victor toward the stairs. Lila lunged forward, but a guard held her back. Victor looked over his shoulder at her one last time. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then they took him upstairs. The house went quiet after that. Ivan left 2 men to guard Lila. They tied her wrists again, but loosely. She sat on the mattress, heart pounding, waiting. Hours passed. Then footsteps. Heavy. Slow. The door opened. Nico limped in first, bandaged now, face grey. Behind him came Victor. He was alive. Pale, sweating, shirt torn and bloody, but walking. One arm in a makeshift sling. His blue eyes found hers right away. The guards were gone. Ivan's men too. What happened? Lila asked. Victor sat down hard on the chair. I gave him what he wanted, he said quietly. Nico closed the door and leaned against it. Everything, Victor continued. The routes. The clubs. The warehouses. Half the cash. All the names he didn't already have. In exchange, he walks away. Leaves you alone. Leaves what's left of us alone. Lila stared. Your empire. Gone, he said simply. Most of it. What's left won't last long. People will scatter. Others will take pieces. I'm not the boss anymore. He looked at his hands. I'm just Victor now. Nico spoke up. He made me call the rest of the crew. Told them it's over. Some left right away. Some stayed, to help clean up. But it's done. Lila crawled closer and sat at his feet. You gave it all up. He nodded. Power didn't save me, he said. It didn't fix anything. It just kept the guilt alive longer. He reached out and touched her cheek gently. You did. Letting me live with the truth. Choosing peace over revenge. That's what finally made me human again. Lila leaned into his hand. And now? Now I disappear too, he said. New name. Quiet life. Maybe somewhere warm. Maybe near the sea. He looked at her. You still have your ticket. Italy. Or wherever you want. She thought about it. Then she shook her head. I think I'll stay in Toronto a little longer, she said. There's a baby named Ethan who probably misses his nanny. And a man who might need someone to remind him he's not a monster. Victor's eyes filled. He didn't try to hide it. Nico smiled from the door, then slipped out to give them space. Weeks later, the news talked about the fall of the Romanov Empire. Big raids. Arrests. Old cases reopened. But Victor's name stayed quiet. Ivan kept his word. No revenge, just business. Victor sold what little he had left. Rented a small apartment downtown. Simple. No guards. No suits. Just jeans and sweaters. Lila went back to nannying. Same families. Same songs. Some evenings, she'd stop by his place. They'd cook together, simple food, rice and chicken, things her mom taught her. They'd talk about normal things. Books. Weather. The kids she cared for. Sometimes they talked about the fire. Not often. But when they did, it didn't hurt as much anymore. The scar on her back stayed. So did the one on his neck. Reminders. Not chains. One night, months later, they walked through a quiet park in Toronto. Snow falling soft around them. Victor stopped and looked at her. I never thought I'd get this, he said. A second chance. Peace. Lila took his hand. You earned it, she said. We both did. They stood there a long time, watching the snow cover the ground. It wasn't a perfect ending. He'd lost everything he built. She'd never get back the name she was born with, or the childhood she thought she had. But they had something better. Forgiveness. Quiet days. Each other. And the haunting truth that sometimes the worst moments of your life, the fire, the blood, the running, can lead to the softest kind of healing. Love doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like two broken people choosing kindness when the world gave them every reason not to. And that's enough. If this story touched your heart, from the slap we never saw to this quiet snow, thank you for staying with me through every tear and every hope. Drop a like if it made you feel something deep. Comment below, what city are you watching from tonight? I love knowing you're out there. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell because there are so many more stories like this waiting, real, raw, and full of heart. Until the next one, take care of yourselves. Hold the people you love a little closer. Love you all. See you soon.